Here's what happened. This is post-pandemic, first time getting back into public speaking, and I'm about to step up and share in front of over 100 people insights on authentic communication and lead voice exercises so that everyone could break down the barriers and walls that we all can put up and the masks we can put up so we can just be able to be in our own energy and authentically connect in a genuine way. And what was interesting was I was backstage. I remember like I was sweating. I had the armpit sweat going and I was pacing back and forth backstage. And I'm like, this is only 10 minutes, but I'm feeling so nervous because it's been so long since I have done an in-person event. And as I was like prepping, going back and forth, the movement started to help me to ease into it and to get back into presence and to be able to focus in on the excitement of what was about to happen in the next few minutes. This is Make Burnout Extinct podcast. I'm Robert David Weeks. So today, to get into that event, it was in Savannah, Georgia, and I went up, delivered it for the 10 minutes. It was awesome, got great feedback, and people came up and shared their stories of, I had one guy in particular, he came up and he told me, he said a few years ago that he found his voice and was able to quit the job that he was at because it did not align with his values, which I feel just connects so much with what I talk about here on the podcast of being able to determine your values. And you know some of mine that I've shared with you before here. And the importance of taking that responsibility on to do that and that ownership and stepping into it. And it's scary, absolutely. And you're absolutely capable of doing this. So today I want to get into the overthinking that could make us stay stuck and feel overwhelmed with all the different options that we could take for the future of the actions that we wanted to take to move towards what it is we want in life. And I want to connect this play that I talked about where at the conference, it was the moving up and down backstage movement. What I call it's my mo time, that moment of movement when I feel stuck, to be able to literally release what feels like the stuckness. I'm actually moving, and so I'm breaking that. And then from there, I can create clarity on the decision and the action I'm going to have to take now to move forward towards what it is I want to do, and being able to move closer towards that vision and the dream for my life. So I want to connect to burnout, the overthinking, that problem, what's happening within the body. And then we're going to get into a framework that I have not shared, I believe, anywhere fully. This framework. It's a framework that has helped me to move faster towards what it is I want, while at the same time being able to make sure that burnout is not getting fueled and that it stays extinct in my life. And it's a powerful framework that I believe will absolutely change the narrative for you. If this is a struggle for you of the overthinking and the stuckness, and we can get into the perfectionism of that, this framework has become a game changer. And I'm excited to be able to share with you today. I'm like pumped about this. And then we'll go into the play, Mo Time. What are some examples that you can take and get inspired for your day? And you can try this right away. I mean, this is a simple tool, or as I call them, simple play that you can add into your burnout proof playbook. Because again, I believe, and I've said it before, but I want to refocus in on it. It's coming up right now. So we're getting into this. Each one of us, we have a burnout proof playbook where we have certain plays that are going to make burnout extinct in our life. But it's up to us to determine and have the awareness as to what those plays are. And it starts with trying different things if we don't know exactly what that is. And then from there, being able to make sure we are consistent in these becoming habits and behavior changes for our life so that we can, again, experience more of what we want and move towards the visions and the goals that we've set out for our life. So let's get into the connection with burnout for overthinking. So all of us experience overthinking. I mean, I'm going into this moment of breakfast. There's so many days I can have the same thing. For me, I mix it up. I got chickpeas, I got eggs, potatoes, tofu. I mix it all up. But there are moments where I overthink of, okay, what am I going to eat for breakfast today? And it creates for me excitement of variety. I really, it's important to have variety, but then there can be a moment where it goes too far. Of then I'm like, real thinking, okay, I just had this last week, and then this I just had a few days ago, but what about this? And then, oh my gosh, I could add like avocados in this or tomatoes. Oh man, or these different spice combos. And then it's like 20-30 minutes go by and I'm still trying to figure out what it is I'm going to eat. So there is a threshold that can happen where we get into overthinking. And when that happens, what starts to occur? I think about that for figuring out what I'm going to eat. There's anxiety that starts to increase because I'm feeling overwhelmed with all the potential combo options that I could add for this breakfast. And then I'm starting to create the narrative of, oh my God, I'm actually spending so much time on this right now and wasting so much time. And then I start stressing about how much time I'm wasting on deciding what I'm going to have for breakfast. So then that increases. And all of a sudden, what's happening is the cortisol is being flooded into the body. And from there, we're getting into this very tired state when we're doing that. And if we are dealing with overthinking throughout the day, not just at breakfast, but then we're thinking, okay, what are my work tasks? What are my goals that I want to accomplish for today? And I haven't clearly defined those. So I'm now going to try to figure out, okay, I could go this avenue with my marketing, or I could work on these different emails that I got to send out to clients, or I got to respond back to these different messages from my coworkers. You have all of these other moments where we could overthink. And so what happens is we're creating these open loops throughout the day. And if we're not able to make a decision, if we take longer to make a decision, then those stress levels and anxieties, those are compounding in the body. And those levels are continuously rising. And then if there's no way for us to release that stress and release that anxiety out, the body's going to keep it stuck in there. And then we're headed, if we do this over a few days and then it leads into longer periods of time, we're headed to the first red flag of burnout, which is chronic exhaustion. So how do we reverse direction? Well, I'm pumped to be able to share with you that framework for you to understand what's happening for your day to day. And specifically, the play that we're going to get into today is mo time, movement. Figuring out what type of movement can help you when you get stuck. So we got to go back into pride. I shared that last episode. This definition for me, how I define it, is doing something I wanted to do even though I was scared. So overthinking can be in those moments where we have a decision that we got to make, where we're scared for the future action. We don't know which direction to go into. If that's for a career, if that's in our relationships, for having some important conversations that are gonna be tough in the moment, but we know are really needed to be had right now. Or that could be conversations for our kids, or it could be focusing in on health and fitness. Like you want to make a change. But then there's a lot of the uncertainty that starts, we get hit in the face with the uncertainty of the future. So pride, when we can actually honor our commitments and step into that and take the action, that, as I said in the last episode, is going to help release the stress and the stress levels that we have. We're going to be able to lower those where it doesn't get to that threshold of moving into chronic exhaustion. So the way that we're going to break this down is really important. And it's a moment where you could take some notes if you'd like on this one to remember it. I've tried to simplify it as best I can for you, but here's how it breaks down for the framework. You have the comfort zone that you're in, the day-to-day, the space where you feel truly safe. Like you have a level of safety that I'm thinking about right now where I'm recording. I feel safe. Like it's familiar. I know the space. I'm hanging out, and I know that this for me feels there's a sense of comfort here. Now, then there's what I want, and that is future oriented. Of what are my goals? What is the vision that I have moving forward that I want to move towards? That creates for me some levels of anxiety starts to bubble up of like, okay, like I know I want to go after this goal, but I don't know really how to get through that. I think of the one that we have for this podcast is to be the top 200 shows for the health and fitness category. Okay, I have an idea of how to get there, but I've never gone down that path. So all of a sudden there can be some levels of stress that starts to bubble up of like, how the hell is this going to happen? Well, one, it happens with the support of you listening and taking the time to go through this, which I don't take for granted. And then of course, sharing it and telling others, friends and families about this. That's one way. So there's what you want is another part of this. And then there's the challenge zone. So how you can imagine this is comfort zone is one ledge on the, let's say like on this valley we're looking out, we got one ledge, we're looking out, and then there's a ledge a little bit further ahead of us. And that is what we want. And then what's in between that is a bridge. And that is what I call the challenge zone. So with the challenge zone, this is a moment where we have pride here of doing something that we want to do because it's moving us closer to that dream, those goals, but we're scared to do it. So I think of that for me, like with fear of heights, I've had that come up for me as a fear of heights. And I think about this bridge. It could be either a bridge that is a rope bridge swinging in the air, right? Or it could be a steel bridge that's locked in. I'm curious which one you would choose. I would choose a steel bridge. That jumps out right away. And a way that we can make it a steel bridge is through time, movement. Because you think about it, if you were sitting there, I get into these thinking too much in my mind. I don't know if anyone else can relate. Like, I'm guessing you can relate if you're listening in with overthinking, right? I mean, we're in the right place here. It's the overthinking that comes up. I'm like, in my mind, I have almost sometimes too much self-awareness, and it's like, I gotta go do the damn thing. So for me, in those moments where if I'm just sitting, that anxiety is just building even more and it has no way to move. So it's just piling up. It's like overflowing. It's trying to, you have the faucet on in the tub and the water's flowing over the tub. There's a lot more there and it has nowhere to go. And so for me, that's when the challenge zone feels like a rope bridge and I'm going to like have to hold on for dear life. And it's going to take so much slower to get through that challenge zone to get to what I want. But then if I imagine a steel bridge and it's got like this amazing, you can see the steel, it just looks like epic and badass. There's like plenty of space on this bridge. You got good protection on either side, those like railings on either side. It's great to, you could barely even like look over the side because the railing's so high. That right there for a steel bridge is when I go through time, movement. So I think about a few stories that come up with this. One that comes up is for those scary moments where I knew I had to go up there and do this. And by doing it, it was going to help benefit my life and move me towards the person I wanted to become and what else I wanted in life. Because when you move towards your goals and your visions, it gets to the point where that doesn't even matter anymore, the vision and the goals, because those change. We know that. They can change over time. We're a totally different person than we were today, than we were 2 years ago. So those can change, but it's who you become along the way that it's such a beautiful gift that you can give to yourself. And I know that there are certain experiences looking back where they were decisive moments for me to step into it and be proud of myself. And one that I've shared before in the last episode was about telling someone I knew all of my life, I don't like their behavior. And having to vocalize that for the first time when I was so scared, I even had the shakes going, and I was so scared right before because I thought it was going to be a negative outcome. So I had to go through movement. I had to create that movement within my body. That was breathing, deep breaths, just letting that flow, to just getting up and shaking it out a little bit, and then knowing I got to go do this thing and lean into it. And when I did that, and I told this person that I don't like their behavior, even though it was defensive, this other person was defensive, and it ended up not being a tense conversation overall, it gave me a sense of relief. of I did it. And then I would go back to another play I've shared before. Then I celebrated. I did some sort of acknowledgement to my body that this is more of what I wanted. And from there, I was able to afterwards appreciate and be proud of what I did. In that, there's a few things that can come up that I want to highlight for you with movement. What movement does is when you're moving, you're doing a few things. It's allowing the energy to move throughout the body and release. It lowers, like, by actually creating movement, it then allows the stress levels to move throughout the body and then eventually release out because you're putting energy out. And what else is super cool with movement, and this part I learned from Dr. Casey Means in the book Good Energy, with mitochondria, understanding the mitochondria of the body, which produce the energy for our body, the ATP. And when we are creating movement in our day, we help to make the mitochondria more effective in producing that energy. And then if we're creating a surplus of movement over time, roughly around like a month, we're then able to produce more of this mitochondria, which then we can take that surplus of energy and put toward doing more of these activities that can feel scary, but that we're going to be proud of and move us closer to the vision that we have for our life. There's another moment I want to share with you that you may relate to this. That is when I moved back in with my parents. So this was in mid-20s. I moved back in, and at that point, I'm having to bring my work into the home that I grew up in as a kid. And for me, there with my parents, I love them both. And at times, there could be moments where they come in and interrupt as I'm trying to work with questions as they had coming up. Like one with my dad is like trying to figure out, apps to download and how to work this, how to work the tech. So for me, I do really like being able to help, but there's a certain amount of threshold if I'm, intense work task where if I get interrupted, I mean, that's going to cause levels of stress that increase for me of like, oh my gosh, I got to deal with this. So what happened was I knew I had to have a conversation. And I had to let them know, hey, when I have this time or when I have the door closed in this room, that's when I'm working. And for me, it was at that point where I shared it before. It was really a struggle for me having to move back in with my parents for the feelings of worthlessness and my life's over and what am I going to do now with my life and my career? All I was holding on to, because I didn't have any friends in the immediate area, was I was holding on to like there is going to be a change for my career, but I got to work to be able to make that happen. So I remembered having to have the conversation of saying, hey, when the doors close, like this is my time to focus in. I really appreciate that. But it was scary to do that. Like, I want to help my parents. I want to be able to help them with the questions they have that they need to be answered. I want to be there for them. But at the same time, I knew like this is the time I have to take to be able to focus in on my goals. And by having that conversation with them, they were open to it and they were able to receive it, which I'm grateful for. And then from there, I was able to be proud of myself because it was scary, but I did it. I did the damn thing. And then I did the play of a celebration moment to celebrate and be like, hells yeah. But to get there, I had to focus in on movement and be able to move my body. That's breathing was really helpful. Just taking a deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. Being able to do something as simple as that was helpful. So we'll get into more examples with Mo Time, but I want to make sure that you know that like we have all these moments. You're not alone in where we're going to have to do something scary in order to move towards what we want in life. And the person that we become in that is such a powerful and beautiful gift that you can give to yourself to honor that. So I want to make sure you know that. And what can happen is with Mo Time is where to place this. So you have multiple times to do this throughout the day. One is right before an important conversation that you're going to have with someone where it's going to feel scary. That's where, as examples, you go for a walk. Going back to the conference where I walked backstage back and forth just to be able to get into that movement. It allowed me to get into presence. It's a meditative practice. I was able to get into presence as I was walking back and forth backstage. Another moment would be just breathing, taking a deep breath in and breathing out through the mouth. Jumping jacks, another one that I've done. Push-ups is one that's been helpful. Being able to do corrective exercises, so posture exercises is another one, and you can type on YouTube. I recommend Athlete X is a one I use for posture. That platform with Jeff Cavalier, but those are a few examples. And now it's, where do you place this in your day? So it's one before those conversations that I've talked about, but then there's another way to actually start to create a buildup for yourself of movement that then it feels like you're filling up a bucket that then you get to use that bucket later on in the day. And a way you can do this is doing this after work tasks that you have. So if you have an intense work task or like a group of similar work tasks, let's say sending out 5 emails or 10 emails or 20 emails, or I don't know if you're at the 50 email mark here, but having a chunk of a certain task that you're going to do, and then you create a moment where you're going to go do mo time, where it is a moment for a body reset, where you then can go out for a quick walk around the block. I recommend between 5 to 15 minutes to try this out. And then you're able to come back and go into your next work task. What happens for this, which is so cool, is that the body is able to have a moment of reconnection and presence. You're able to allow the mind to have a break and have a rest. If you don't like the word break, because I get it for the high performers, you have a moment of rest, and professional athletes can do this too. So you're not alone here. You can do this. When you can do that throughout the day, I think about it as these work time blocks that I've created. I got like 6 work time blocks, each an hour, and then I'll do one of these. I'll have my mo time afterwards for 15 minutes. That makes me feel like I'm at an even level for the stresses and anxieties. Like, you can have those spikes that can come up, especially if you have those hard conversations or big deadlines that you're trying to meet, or important presentations that you have coming up. You can have those spikes, but then also there's the spikes going the opposite way, which is the mo time. It's a way to help you regulate throughout the day, your nervous system. And then at the end of the day, you're not feeling like exhausted and like you want to just crash on the couch and be chill. That's what can happen when you add in mo time as a play throughout your day, is you're able to have more energy to go do other activities and to allow for yourself to have moments of reconnection with yourself, where you don't have to feel like you got to throw in the towel, but you can keep putting the reps in. So recap for you, mo time, different examples of what you could do. You could do, and these are ones I've done. I've done push-ups before. Just take a moment of 5 minutes to get some push-ups in. I've done a walk back and forth. Sprints is another one. I've done deep breathing. I've been able to do a body scan where I really allow my body to feel where it's tense, let's say in my shoulders, and drop my shoulders and squeeze too. Like I do a moment of squeezing certain parts of, let's say, my shoulders, and then relaxing them. Those are some of the examples that I hope can inspire you to figure out what are some movement activities that you could add into your mo time. And then being able to break that mo time throughout your day will be really important, either before an important conversation or presentation, or after a work task, an intense work task, or a series of work tasks that are similar, like checking your emails and sending responses back. And then what I want to leave you with is this quote. It's one that I've held on to, and it's something I say to myself, and I want to share with you. And it was especially important when I was living with my parents, where I felt like, I felt it of, oh man, is this all that I'm going to be? And am I really going to be able to do something bigger than myself and have an impact in the lives of others? Or am I going to just feel like this worthless guy that's just letting his life drift away? And this is what I told myself in that moment, that I hope can help you, especially in these moments where we're so intense in the overthinking. And it could be a really tough place that we're at with that, of feeling the overwhelm. And it's like, I know I got to make this decision. Was to remember in this moment that if you can do it here, you can do it anywhere. You are capable of this. This is your moment. The overthinking, we all experience it, but it doesn't have to always be in the driver's seat. This is the moment to be able to add your mo time, and from there to make that decision that you know that you've got to make, but you are scared, and you're going to then move forward and take that action. I'm celebrating you, fired up for you, and I want you to know you absolutely got this. If you like this episode, please don't forget to rate this podcast to help get this message out of Make Burnout Extinct. And you can share what resonates with you from this episode by connecting with me on Instagram and LinkedIn. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this episode. I don't take that for granted. Excited to reconnect again soon.